What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Tacho here, and we're back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. So we have all of the information about Hel, we have her stats, and we've got her skills and all that jazz. So what we're going to do today is I'm just going to give my final impressions on Hel. I did a little bit of a reaction video earlier where me and a couple of guys, we went in and we took a look at the trailer and just like how she looked from there. We talked about her a bit. But we didn't really have the stats to judge her based on in that video. So I thought I might as well just do a follow-up now that we have her skills and her stats available and all of that. Okay, so Hel is a darkness hero, which is a little unfortunate. I was kind of hoping she was going to be an Astra hero, particularly a plus res Astra hero, because, I mean, God knows we need that so badly. But they decided to make her a dark hero, which is just going to oversaturate the darkness pool even more. We have a dark hero for every type. So we have Yune, we've got Sothis, we have Bramimond, and now we have Hel. So Dark, I believe, is the only season right now that actually has all of the stats covered. So I didn't personally think they needed to do another Darkness hero, but I guess it is what it is. I mean, from a story perspective, it kind of makes a little bit of sense as well, because Air is a light hero and Hel being dark. I guess that kind of means they're meant to square off against each other. But they kind of didn't even do that with Milla and Duma, so, I mean, I don't know what they're thinking, but it is what it is. Okay, so Hel's stats. At neutral, she has 40 HP, 38 attack, 41 speed, 30 defense, and 18 res. And if you guys want to take a look at this, our girl Hel here actually has a super boon in speed, which I think is pretty interesting. So, I mean, her base kit, you look at her base kit, let me just quickly also pull up her base kit. So she's got Hel's Reaper, she has Luna, she has Distant Counter, she's got Guard Bearing, and then she has her own unique C-slot skill, Inevitable Death. Okay, so this is Hel's complete base kit. And if you look at it, it seems on paper like it might be a sort of a bait build, because her weapon does -1 special trigger, it has a built-in miracle effect, it has built-in IO's shield, and then she's capable of targeting res against melee-type opponents. Pretty much as long as the foe is not a magic type or a staff type unit, she is going to be targeting res, which is actually pretty good. Most of the melee-type units, besides dragons of course, typically have higher defense than res. So her being able to do that is pretty solid there. And likewise, the same is true for magic types, because typically mages and staves are going to have more res than defense. And when she's attacking them, she will be targeting defense. So it's not quite adaptive damage, but it's, I guess you could call it selective damage, if that's even a thing. But it's a pretty solid effect if you want to deal a little bit more damage to the foes. So you look at this kit and you think, oh, she's going to be a bait unit, right? So she's probably going to have a lot of defense and a lot of res, maybe not the best of speed. But we did kind of know in the story from seeing her in there that her res wasn't really the best. So I kind of figured she might not have the best of res, but 18, like having it be a total dump stat, I kind of wasn't expecting that at all. And I definitely wasn't expecting her to be speed tied with the Bunny Fear, who's like, I think Bunny Fear is actually the fastest flying unit in the game. Oh wait, no, we recently just got Summer Ingrid, who is a little bit faster than her. Alright, so that's my bad there, guys, but yeah, I mean, she's really fast. So what I get out of her stat line is basically she's a glass cannon unit with life insurance, pretty much. Like, she doesn't have a lot of res. Her defense is very solid, but it's not like some crazy tanking defensive level there, not like armored units have. But she has that built-in miracle effect on her weapon. So what I get out of it is that you can go ahead and attack with Hel, and you don't really have to worry about her defense all that much, because as long as she can survive that round of combat, she's pretty much fine. And then you're free to queue up like Wings of Mercy shenanigans and have all your other units jump to her, since she will be at 1 HP, assuming her miracle effect went off. So that is one way I see Hel being used, in Aether Raids in particular. Like, if you wanted to set up a rally trap with her, let's say you gave her, I don't know, rally, any rally, it doesn't even matter. And then you're free to run like Flyer Formation or Flyer Formation, or have the unit you want her to jump to have Flyer Guidance, Or you could run aerobatics even. It doesn't really make a difference. All of these flying movement skills are just super good, especially for setting up a rally trap. So what you would do is have Hel jump in with one of these flyer skills, go ahead and use the rally, and then have, I don't know, maybe like Legendary Azura or some other dancer, then be within range to dance on Hel and have her overlap ranges with the unit that she rallies on. And from that point, if you get lucky enough and you're targeting a foe that's going to try to bait, and hopefully they can get her down to 1 HP with her miracle effect so you can queue up the Wings of Mercy shenanigans at that point. I think that's probably going to be the main way to play Hel on a defense setup, but there's definitely more things you can do with her. Like, for example, I feel like the Ward Flyer Cube is actually going to become super disgusting now, especially for, like, Super Whales that have all of these insane flying units built up to plus 10. Because the flying units have just been getting crazier and crazier lately. Like, we have the Duo Byleth, we've got the Summer Ingrid, now we have Hel, and we've got a whole bunch of others. It's just insane, man. Like, the high investment Ward Flyer Cube, and now that we have Guard Bearing as well, so you can't even really initiate on them, it's going to be pretty nuts facing a fully decked out, like, plus 10 Flyer Ball. So, I think that could be another way you may want to play her on defense. It does kind of suck that her base kit is, like, sort of screaming that she wants to be a bait unit, and then her stat line is telling me that she wants to be an offensive unit. So, like, what I said before about her being sort of like a glass cannon with life insurance, I think that's probably the best way to put it. But it is very interesting nonetheless. Also, another interesting thing about Hel is that, well, I guess it's not really interesting. I don't know why I said that, but I guess the main weakness to Hel is that she's very susceptible to magic. Like, in particular, AoE specials, like from Ophelia and things of that nature. She has Guard Bearing, but Guard Bearing isn't quite as good as Repel and Spurn and things like that. Because those passives actually reduce damage from AoE specials as well as the foe's attack. Whereas Guard Bearing is only reducing the damage from the foe's attack and not the special. So if you were to lower Hel's HP to 1 with Blazing Wind or Blazing Flame or whatever, you would then be free to bypass her miracle effect and go for the one shot on her, and then maybe pull off like a hit and run strategy with a dancer to get your AoE unit out of the way. So it's going to be a little bit awkward playing Hel on a defense team, I think. Just because of that scenario, it's not really going to be too hard to snipe her if you've got some real firepower with your mages. Particularly just Ophelia is going to shred her pretty bad. But, like, what I said earlier, though, about her just going full-on offense and then trying to get herself into the miracle range to queue up Wings of Mercy is probably going to be the way to go. Also, you don't even need to run distant counter if you're going to play her that way. You'd be free to run, like, Sturdy Impact or Mirror Impact instead, just to gain some more bulk out of her. And then, from that point, she's pretty much just going to dominate whoever she attacks and have less of a chance of just getting destroyed on the defensive aspect. So, the Rally Trap, doing this type of strategy to queue up Wings of Mercy could be one way. It does suck, though, that she had to be a Dark Hero, and we have Mila in Light Season, of course. And Mila is just a god of inflicting isolation on everything. Unfortunately, Hel does not quite have the defenses to avoid getting hit by Mila's isolation. So, Rally Trap's probably going to be out of the question if the foe has Mila. And that is unfortunate, because that's probably the most, like, optimal way, or I don't want to say optimal, probably the most, how do I say this, like, the simplest way to set her up and have her actually do something worthwhile on defense, as opposed to just running her with the base kit and having her sit in a corner and just standing there menacingly, hoping that she can stall out the foes when she's probably not going to be able to. Also, another thing about that, like, if you want her to stall out the foes, you gotta keep in mind that Mila actually extends the turn counter by 1 when you run her in Light Season. So you have less of a chance of stalling enemies out in Light Season. So yeah, it really sucks that Hel had to be a Darkness hero as opposed to something else. It would have been really interesting, I think, if she was actually the plus res Astra Mythic. Because that way, I mean, first of all, plus res is so coveted for Astra Season. We don't really have anything that can tank, like, super crazy on the res side in that season. And we also don't really have, like, too many good options for Astra. Like, a lot of people don't like to run Naga. I can sort of understand why, but in her own way, Naga is also pretty good because she can grant effective against dragons, and that's one of the better ways to shut down the Fallen Julia, who's like the most menacing opponent to fight against. But that's just like one scenario. It's not like everyone is going to have Fallen Julia. It's not even like everyone is going to be running Duma or anything like that. It does help to have effective against dragons against Duma, because sometimes he can be a pain to get rid of in one shot. But otherwise, I mean, Astra is really struggling in terms of which mythic heroes you can actually run for offense in there. And while Altina is very good in her own right, she's not really a supporty mythic, so if you're running Altina to pretty much do all of the work, you're running her as the carry unit, and that means you're not really going to be able to support someone else. So Altina does actually run into a little bit of trouble, where sometimes her stats aren't just going to be high enough, unless you have her at plus 10 and you wailed out to get her that high. Because unfortunately, you can't really supply any mythic bonuses and stat bonuses to Altina herself. So running her as a carry unit, even though I tend to do it myself and I've had pretty good success with her, there are some situations where you may want just a little bit extra stats out of her, and it's not going to be all that easy to get it. So basically, just long story short, Hel should have been an Astra Mythic. I think she could have been an interesting bait option if we were able to run her as an offensive mythic for Astra season. Because like I said earlier, she has that base kit that's just screaming that she wants to be a bait unit, but then her stat line is saying she wants to be an offensive unit. So you put them together, and I think we would have had a pretty interesting mix there, where you could have had her just player phase an enemy, and then she always has that miracle effect to fall back on, so if the foes are going to try to attack her, she has a pretty good chance to survive it. Otherwise, though, I think the Ward Flyer thing with the fully invested Ward Flyer cube is probably going to be the way to go. Like, we have Ashnard as well. He's got built-in Iote's shield just like Hel. He also has a debuffing effect that's similar to Inevitable Death. In the event that you wouldn't want to run Ward Flyers on all of them, I think it's probably more optimal to have Ward Flyers as opposed to Inevitable Death if you're going to run like a Ward Flyer cube. Because it's just going to be easier to proc Ward Flyers as opposed to Inevitable Death if the foes are going to be attacking somebody besides Hel. So just having Ward Flyers to support your other flying units, I think is probably going to be a little bit better. And if you were going to run Hel in a Ward Flyer cube, you'd probably need 2 copies of Hel just to have them standing around and make it really impossible for the foes to actually initiate combat. Like, they're going to be able to pull off hit-and-run strategies, but if they can't get a KO on any of your units, if they all have Guard Bearing and Iote's shield effects, and in the case of Hel, she's got the Miracle effect as well, it's going to be pretty tough to initiate on that. So you're going to have to rely on trying to bait them, but of course the flying team just has all of these movement skills, like Flyer Guidance, Flyer Formation, and so on. So they're going to be able to jump to each other and just start comboing off of each other and launching a flurry of attacks on the foes. So it has a lot of defensive potential and a lot of offensive potential as well. So I feel like the Flyer Ball is going to make a comeback, but only at super high investment for like whales that are way beyond you and me. So it doesn't seem like there's really going to be an easy way to pull off Hel as a defensive hero, unfortunately. But that's really not any reason to be discouraged, though, because I feel like just running her with her base kit in any mode besides Aether Raids, she's probably going to put up some good work. Distant Counter and Guard Bearing with the built-in Iote's shield. She's going to be a pretty solid bait unit overall, and the high speed is pretty solid if she wants to go ahead and initiate on the foes and do some damage herself. The selective damage, which I coined that term just earlier today, the selective damage is also going to help her out on the player phase and let you get a little bit more out of her offensively. So that pretty much just covers my impressions on Hel. Of course, everything that I've said here is just speculation and it's on paper. I haven't actually fought Hel myself yet, so I don't know if she's really going to be all that threatening, or maybe she is, I don't know. Like, for all I know, she could just be this complete monster that you can't even bring down. So there's always that chance. But from what I'm seeing out of her kit and her low res being a prime target to just abuse her with special spam mages like Ophelia, I don't know how well she's really going to be able to pull off the stall thing. you're probably better off just running a super fast and threatening red sword unit, and then just giving them Spurn 3 or Close Call or whatever. But it is what it is, guys, so that's going to wrap up my discussion on Hel. Let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about Hel, and if you think she's going to be a threat on defense to deal with, or if you think she's going to be all washed up and not even a threat to deal with at all. I'm interested to hear you guys' opinions on this. Now, for me, I'm not even going to summon on the banner. I'm not really interested in picking up any copies of Hel. I think it's probably best to just save your orbs for now, because we do have Choose Your Legends 4 on the horizon for August. And there's also that mystery return of Sothis that we're going to get in mid-August that no one really has any idea what's going on with that. For all we know, that could be some crazy rerun banner or some crazy Hero Fest banner or something like that. So it may be a good idea to just keep some orbs in the pocket for when all of that stuff starts coming down the pipeline. But anyways, that's all for today. So as always, this is your boy Tacho signing out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and the discussion. And I will catch you guys again on the flip side.